Welcome back to 5280, guys. So you can see in the intro, we got some issues going on with the car, and we're gonna dive into it, figure out what's going on with it. So we're gonna go back in time to last week before I got a haircut, and we're gonna look at what's going on and see if we can figure out what the issue is. From there, we're gonna come back to this week, to today, and we're gonna start wrenching on the car and get things going. All right, so you can see I got the girlfriend's XC60 right here, and I'm gonna use this car as kind of a reference for what's going on with the Volvo. Here's the big thing. They are both 5-cylinder engines. They got the exact same engine, T5, different turbos, different heads. So really, as far as what we're looking for, everything should be identical between the two vehicles. Now, if you look here, I have our voltage meter right now. It's sitting at about 0 volts. I got it connected to the block in a grounded spot back there. Now, you can't really see down there, but that cable goes to the alternator. I'm going to connect this guy to it down there. What we're looking for is about 14 volts. So you can see the system's charging, the alternator's producing charging. It's a tad bit higher than what we see because it's putting out a lot of volts as it's charging. You can see it's jumping around a little bit, but it is pretty consistent between 14.5 to 14.7. That's actually pretty good. Now, we're gonna go over to the V70R. So you can see here, this one's about 13.4, between 13.3 to 13.4. Now earlier when I was doing this, when I was taking a look at everything, it was actually sitting between 12.8 to where it is right now, 13.2. It is been kind of spiking around. Now the thing I think that's going on is that the alternator is hurt. I mean, it's not charging the way it should. Something's going on with the charging system. My first indication is going to be the alternator, because I did replace this battery 2 weeks ago, as you guys remember, and I did have a cell die in the other battery that was previous. I don't know if that was a fluke or not, but doing this kind of is indicating that maybe the voltage on the alternator is not producing enough to charge the battery and keep up with demand. So we got to replace the alternator, just like we replaced a brand new battery. This car is getting a whole lot of fun. Sweet, back to present time here. Now this is what I think is the issue, is the alternator. Now I did just put this guy in back in October, and the car actually sat for a while I was doing other stuff, so it actually doesn't have more than 250 miles on it. The thing, you could see that it wasn't charging at the voltage that it needed, and when I did get it started today, because I was actually running over to Advanced to have them test it because they have a systems diagnostic there, and the car didn't even run for maybe 5 minutes, and then it just died. So I know the battery's shot, so I need to get another battery. This has actually killed 2 batteries since it's been put in, and that's been about a month and a half. It's killed 2 batteries. So there's obviously something else going on, and this is my first guesstimate, and with the amount of voltage that it's doing, it makes sense. Now, the way I pull this out is a little bit different than I've seen everybody else do it. Most people, they're doing these videos, they're gonna tell you, take off the power steering pump, and then you're gonna take the water hose off here that goes into the radiator, and a couple of things down there. I believe you take this tube off as well. And the reality of it, you can do that. I don't want to deal with all the fluids. I really don't want to take this hard line off, move this out of the way, and re-top off the whole power steering system. It just seems like a pain in the neck just to do that. What I did last time when I actually had everything apart is I took off the intake manifold, I took off the fuel rail, took off the intake tube, and I just got all of it out of the way. Then you can get to the back of this, and you can get to the bolts that you need a lot easier because you're able to actually move your arm around everything. So that's the way I'm gonna do it. Not saying you have to do it that way, but generally it was a lot easier for me especially when you don't want to deal with all this hydraulic fluid and trying to figure out, you know, do I recycle it? Where do I recycle it? Or do I put it back into the system? Is it dirty? All of that stuff. So let's break into it.
It's the calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were before.
All right, something I do want to mention for you guys. So I got basically all these connections off. Set the harness up out of the way. Here's one thing. So I know that the fuel rail is primed with fuel right now because I had it run for less than 5 minutes, so it was getting fuel. This is all primed. The nice thing is they do have a release here for pressure. So this has got a little Schrader valve in it. You just grab a rag, stick it in there and release the pressure. There's still gonna be a residual, so when you pull this off, there is gonna be residual fuel. It is gonna spill a little bit. So don't be working on this when it's ridiculously high, because you can catch stuff on fire and you are dealing with fuel, which is flammable. So as far as everything else, we're gonna keep plowing away at it. Basically get this fuel rail off, get it set aside, and then we're gonna get the intake manifold off and get it set aside. And then from there, we'll be able to start working on the alternator and get it out.
With the ground beneath your feet, with a whisper in the trees.
Alright guys, so the intake manifold is out of the way here. You can see I have a lot of room now. I can get to the back of the alternator and I can get to all of the connections as well. Just makes it a little bit easier. Now there are some things I still need to get out of the way, like I still have the Serpentine Belt on, so I need to get that off. Actually, I don't have a tool for that. Last time I borrowed it from a friend. I'm just gonna go buy one since I seem to be needing one so much. The big thing you want to look for while you're doing this is you look up under here. See that port? There's a banjo bolt that connects to this guy. That is a pain in the neck to get off and on. If you know it's there, you're looking a little bit more for it. If you don't know it's there, it's a headache. So, if you look at it, here it is. It's got a crush washer on the bottom of it and on the top of it. It's actually just for the PCV. It's basically so the PCV warms up a little bit faster. Now, if you have a ratcheting wrench like this guy, it's a 17 mil. The ratcheting wrench will make it so much faster, a lot easier. I actually bought a set mainly because of that bolt and a couple of other things I had to do. The other thing I did disconnect is intake tube, right down there. Got that out of the way. And really, all I have to do is just go to the store, get something to get that belt off with, and I'm ready to take it out. This is going to help us get the Serpentine Belt off. So the nice thing is it does have an attachment which goes up to a little bit bigger here to receive different styles of sockets, which is nice. The other thing that's really cool is you can actually angle this at quite a few different ways to make it easier to get into that area. So what we're gonna need is, it's gonna be a Torx, it's a T55. And I got it in a socket here. Basically, get it on here, and then stick it in the car. And let's try to get this thing out of here. All right, so starting to get some other stuff out of the way here. So this is going to be the power steering reservoir line. So you can just get that out from under there, and then you can take this guy off, and it comes just right out of there. And get it pretty much out of the way. About like that. So you give yourself room down there. Now you can see that pulley down there. So right beside it, which you're not going to be able to see, is where the Torx bit goes. You'll be able to stick it in there and basically ratchet it loose. And then you can just pull the belt off. So let's get to it. Serpentine is loose and off. If you run into the same thing I'm running into, it's basically for that to go to full resting position. You need to start farther back than I did. So probably started with the handle straight up and down. Probably should have had the handle a little bit more like this, but then you run into the issue, you're gonna run into this stuff. So, good luck on that, and getting it back on is a nightmare. I've done that before, and it's a headache. So, where we're gonna get to is, see right there, there's the back end of one of the bolts. And if you look down there, that block, there's two bolts that go into that. So that's what holds it in. So that's what we need to get loose. We also need to get this bolt loose. And then there's a ground or a signal wire right here that we need to take off as well. So, get it to focus. There we go. That's pretty easy. That kind of comes off. The other one is a 13 mil.
Did you think you could keep us out? Shut the gates, forget us now.
Goes right on the back of that guy. And of course, your dipstick too is going to be right in the way. Pretty easy. Probably take it off by hand so you don't drop the bolts into the engine bay. And that comes off. Simple as that. So that's all the electrical connections taken off. Now, just gotta get these bolts out, which, if I remember correct, they're 10 mil. If they're not, I will correct myself and let you guys know. The two at the bottom, they are down under here, and they can be a pain in the neck to get to. You'll probably need an extension and some ingenuity to get to them so you can get them loose. And it might be beneficial to take this guy off, which I'm probably going to, because it only has one hose clamp and that's pretty easy to get off. Probably just take it off, give myself just a little bit more room. Got it, just about almost all the way out. We're going to loosen a couple bolts on the AC compressor down at the bottom. There's two. You don't have to take them off all the way or anything like that. You just want to loosen them up just a tad.
Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. With the revolution. Can you hear the sound? With the revolution.
I'll show you guys what I was talking about. So on the bottom side, there's two bolts here, and there's actually a block that goes right here. And these guys, there's one right here, and this guy just threads through it. And this guy threads through it, but it sits, say, maybe that far in there, so it's really not that far past it. It's, you can almost see it if you get the right angle if you're looking at it. The other two things that I did loosen up, let's see if I can get it. See that bolt right down there, down the center? Right there. There's one. There's another one right there. If you loosen those guys up just a tad, you'll be able to get just enough room to get that out of there. And you can see here's the block that guides those bolts. So there's one block there and there's another one there. So that bolt goes in here and then it threads into the block over here. Pretty easy once you know where everything is. And that's why I like doing these videos, because I like showing people where stuff is and going from there. So I guess next step is wait till the part comes in and then install it. Thank you so much for watching. And we got the alternator out, got a battery out. We're just waiting on parts now. Once the stuff comes in, we'll just reverse the process that we just did. And then from there, start it up, drive it. Hopefully everything lasts longer than 2 or 3 weeks before we have a dead battery. Hopefully we never have a dead battery again. But till next time, guys, I'll catch you later.